Hello, this is Elder Ryan Sampson again. This is the tutorial for making the pencil holder desk organizer that is part of the Intro to Fusion 360 class. So this is the object I'm going to be making it. I'm just going to run through it reasonably quickly again, so if you want to come back and review if there's anything you forgot how to do, hopefully this will help. The keystrokes will be recorded in the bottom right hand corner of the screen here, so you can see exactly what I'm pressing on my keyboard, and I'll just try to talk through it the best I can. So we're just going to open up a new file here. It's always a good idea to save your file. I'm not going to do it on this one, but just up here or Control S, it's a good idea to save your file somewhere where you can find it later. First thing I'm going to do here is create a new sketch, which is up here with the green plus sign. You choose your sketch plane. I'm going to be selecting this one, which is the kind of top-down sketch plane. I'm going to be pressing in on my scroll wheel to pan around, and I'm going to press R to create a rectangle, starting at this center origin point. I'm going to bring it out like this, type in 70, tab 50, enter to set the dimensions of my rectangle. I can always go back, double click on any of these to change the values later if I want to. Next, we're going to use our fillet tool right up here in our modify tab to round these two corners and hit enter. Once again, if I wanted to change the amount of rounding here, I could double click on this value and change it later down the line if I wanted to. Then we're going to use our offset tool up here and type in -2. This is going to create a copy of our line 2 millimeters in from the other one. That's all we need from this sketch, so I'm going to hit the finish sketch button up here, this green check mark. Okay, we're going to start our extrusions now. I'm going to start with this inside object. I'm going to click on it so it's highlighted blue and hit E for extrude. Then I'm going to type in 3 for 3 millimeters and hit enter. You'll notice our sketch has disappeared, so I'm going to look over here on the left in our panel. This shows all of the different objects and bodies that we are using. So I'm going to click the little arrow for the drop down for our sketches. You'll notice that this sketch is turned invisible. I'm just going to click the eye icon to toggle that and make it visible again. So once that's visible, I can zoom in here, get close enough that I can highlight this surrounding profile. Once I have that highlighted, I can hit E for extrude again, type in 100 for 100 millimeters and hit enter. And that will give us the main body of our object. Just as part of a good practice, I'm going to rename my sketch just so I can keep track of it, and I'm also going to rename my body. Let's see, rename. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a second sketch. So I'm going to go up here again to the create sketch button. This time for our profile plane, I'm selecting this side of our pencil holder. So once I have that, I'm going to zoom in a bit. I'm going to make sure that I have snap to grid turned off. So it's in this bottom panel. This right here is grid and snaps. I open that up. Make sure snap to grid right here is toggled off. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here a bit, hit R for rectangle again, start at our origin point again, bring a rectangle over here. We want it to be 30 by 5 millimeters, then hit enter. I'm going to zoom in here on the end of our rectangle. This time we're going to be using our spline tool, which is up here in our create menu. I'm going to click on that, start at the bottom left corner of our rectangle, come add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and then end there. Once I'm done, I have to hit enter or click on this check mark to finish it. Then I'm going to hit escape and click off of it so nothing's highlighted. From here I can come in and adjust this to kind of make it more the shape I want. You can also click on individual points and drag this little bar to adjust the angles. So I'm going to line this one up here, this one up here. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to hit finish sketch. I'm going to zoom out, get a better angle here so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to click on this profile here and then shift click on this other profile. Once I have both of them selected, I'm going to hit E for extrude. I want to drag this out. I want this to be -20 millimeters, then hit enter. Then I can select this inside face, hit E for extrude again. This time we don't want to start right there, we want to start from this side. So I'm going to go over here to the extrude menu on the right, change our start place from profile plane to object. Now it wants me to select the object I want to start from, so I'm going to just click on this face over here. So now when I type in -20, it just goes from there backwards and we get this nice effect. I'm going to just real fast hide this sketch that we're not using anymore. That was our first sketch we created, just still visible. I'm just going to go hide that one. Alright, next we are going to use our fillet tool right here, or press F and click this line and this line. I can drag this out to whatever value I want. I'm going to make this 15 millimeters. That gives that nice kind of rounded effect. Okay, I'm going to rename my second sketch I made arms. I'm going to create a new sketch on the front of our object. Move my camera up here so I have a good view of it. We're going to create a circle. I'm just going to press C, make it 18 millimeters, put it about here. We'll fix the placement after. Okay, I'm going to come back to our create menu, use the drop down to look for a rectangular pattern down here towards the bottom. I'm going to click on that and then click on the outside of the circle. From there, I can drag this out here and this out here to create the grid pattern. If I wanted to, I could create more or less circles or change the size, but we're going to leave it at about this. Okay, I'm just going to drag it so it's a little more centered. We're about to center it though with some constraints, so that doesn't matter too much. I'm going to use our line tool right here, or press L, and I'm going to create a line going from this center point of our middle top circle to this line right here, just like that, and then hit escape because I'm still on my line tool. I want to turn this line into a construction line, so I'm going to click on it, then hit X on my keyboard. That makes it a dotted line. You can do that with any of these. If they're not part of your final product, they're just for lining it up, then just press X to toggle between construction and normal lines. Once I've made this into a construction line, we're going to use some of our constraints up here, starting with a midpoint constraint. I'm going to click on this one. First, I'm going to select the top point of our line. Then I'm going to select this line that it's sitting on, and that will put that at the midpoint. I'm going to hit escape because you'll notice I'm still selected on my midpoint constraint. And this time I want my horizontal vertical constraint. So I'm going to click on that one, and then once again I'm just going to click on our line, and that's just going to make it a vertical line. Then I'm going to hit escape again to get off that tool. Notice now that's nice, perfectly lined up in the center. You can drag this up and down. So we want to give this a defined value. I'm going to click on our dotted line here, hit D for dimension, which will give it an exact value. I'm just going to move this out and put in 13 and hit enter. So now at any point if I want to come adjust this, I can just come edit this or edit these dimensions and be able to fix those. Alright, so that's all we need from this sketch. So I'm just going to highlight like this to select all of these circles and hit E for extrude. I'm going to drag this out the back. You'll notice it cuts through automatically. It switched down here on our menu. You'll notice the operation was changed automatically to cut. But we could change this if we wanted to. If I wanted to make it a solid object, I could choose join, but we're still going to use cut. For our extent type, I'm going to change it from distance to all, because I want it, no matter how I change the dimensions of this, I just want to make sure that that cuts all the way through it. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to hit OK. And now we have our finished product. Everything's all lined up. I'm going to rename our final sketch. Just call that holes. And then I have my body right here. I'll use this drop down to show it. So if I wanted to export this as an STL to 3D print or another format, I can click right here on our object. I'm going to right click on it and go down to save as mesh. Here at save as mesh, I can choose the format. I use STL binary just because it's pretty standard. It works for everything. and then you can just hit OK and download it as an STL. Let's say you wanted to go back and change something from earlier in the process. There are two ways to do that, one of which is to just go edit the sketches. So let's say I wanted to make these walls a little thinner or thicker. I can just go here, hit edit sketch on my first sketch, and then I just go change any of these values I want. I'm going to change this from 2 to -3. Just make that wall a little thicker. If I hit finish sketch, then you'll notice the walls are now a little thicker. It just automatically updated everything. So that's one way, is just going and editing the sketches from this menu and hitting finish sketch when you're done. The other way is to look down here. We have our timeline of everything we used to make this object. So let's say I wanted to edit these fillets right here. So you notice if I click on that, this one gets some lines above it because that is when we created that feature. So I can actually just double click on that. It takes me back to when I was adding that. I can change that from 15 to 20 and hit enter. Then it'll automatically update me and update everything else. So you can also use this little slider to slide back to different points in the timeline if you want to. But that is basically how you go about editing things later down the line. I think that is everything we've covered. Make sure you've saved your files if you want, and have fun experimenting with everything. And thanks for watching.